Should you get this? GameMasters here, and I've been wrestling with Dragonlance ever since I got the review copy in. I like it, but on the other hand, I don't. But I want to present to you how I see it all so you can decide if it's right for you. Should you buy it or not? I'll explain. Looking at it from a lore perspective, it falls fairly flat. It's not a setting book. We've had years' worth of lore involved in Dragonlance, from the novels to the supplements, with its rich history spread out over a multitude of books. This version of Dragonlance sums up that history over about 4 pages, with a couple of those pages being just full of half-page artwork. It provides a fairly nice map, but outside of the area of the adventure itself that it takes place in, there's very little written in regards to the towns and the cities and the terrain. There are the gods of Krynn. One might expect to be able to pull some fun inspiration from there, possibly even an avatar or at the very least some stat blocks, but no. Instead, we're provided one paragraph to each of the 21 gods listed, and that covers us from about page 4 to 19. Then chapter 1 begins, and it spans a mere 15 pages, but provides some decent information about the Kender as well as other races that can be found in Krynn. Also, it gives us 2 new organizations, 9 feats, which are sort of specific to the organizations, and 1 subclass for sorcerers. Aside from the appendices, the rest of the book is an adventure, about 150 pages or so of what I'd consider to be a module. You'll get about 4 magic items, about 15 monster stat blocks, as well as some stat blocks for sidekicks. I know. I'm kind of sounding like I'm giving this a downgraded valuation, and I'll be honest, I kind of am. I made a video recently stating that as an older dungeon master, I grew up filling in gaps in the game, taking elements from one book, taking material from another, and kind of smushing it together and putting it into my own homebrew campaign. And I'll be doing exactly that with this Dragonlance book. But I've spoken to a fair number of newer DMs and players, and I see exactly where they're coming from. The price point on this book is $50. Dishing out cash for something that has hardly any context for its lore, it's just not right. What is right and doesn't cost anything is clicking the like button if you're getting anything out of this video. What I realized in my reading of this book was that I was automatically filling in the gaps with older editions of the lore, that I had already known most of the gods that are listed in here in far greater detail than just one paragraph, because I've read about them in other older supplements. But I get that newer players, that entrenched knowledge just isn't there yet. Yes, it's out there, but it's not in here. And damn, are they really expected to research all things Dragonlance just to be able to figure out the context in which this book takes place? Now, that all said, I'm happy to add this to my collection of other Dungeons & Dragons books. The adventure in this is, it's rock solid for what it is. As mentioned, it's 150 pages or so of adventuring fun. There are parts in it that feel very much Dragonlance and almost brings me to the nostalgia of the older modules. Almost. I do like the freedom that it offers in not tying or tethering the setting specifics to the map itself. If my players were to trek far west to the Isle of Sandcrest, we can certainly do that, although there's nothing in here about that isle. But for me, it's not really an issue. I can populate it out as I see fit because that's kind of how I've always approached Dungeons & Dragons, as a massive sandbox game. I like the idea that this book brings about in terms of sidekicks. What was the Magic the Gathering setting book called? Strixhaven. And there they introduced rivals, and I like that. But how sidekicks work in here, sort of like henchmen from back in the day. I do find things about this version that I like, but I can certainly see that the book itself can be approached with mixed feelings. If you're looking for a lore-heavy setting book, this is not that. If you're looking for a new adventure in a place largely unexplored in 5th edition, this book is that. Now, about the board game. Well, if you want to know if it's worth it or not, be sure to check out this video. And let me know down in the comments if anything I've said here today has helped you make a decision either way about this new book. To purchase it or not to purchase it, that is the question. And until next our paths cross, may you lance a dragon?